Hi there and welcome to My Catholic Perspective. I am Allie Marie. I don't know if you have ever done the Strength Finders before or if you've ever heard of it, but it's basically a test that can tell you what your strengths are. One of mine happens to be input, which means I like to collect things and I like to collect information more than anything. So any conversation I have, any movie I watch, it just all kind of gets stored in my brain and I'm able to filter that out into whatever I think is most pertinent to a topic and then draw it out when I'm having a conversation about it. So today I have some new information, new insight into circumcision. So I'm going to start with a medical perspective and then journey into the religious perspective of it. I have done a video on this before, but this is going to be a little bit more graphic, a little bit more into the actual medical procedure due to a video that I recently watched. I've seen circumcision videos before, but I learned some new information. So if you're interested in those types of conversations about just kind of examining different aspects, please do subscribe. I post every Thursday at 3 p.m. and I would love to have you in the community. After seeing the circumcision video that I saw this week, I had another conversation with my husband and said, if we have a boy, would you really want to have him circumcised? And he said, well, I still lean that way. And I'm like, okay, well, you have to watch this video then. And, maybe if you still feel that way, we can talk about that. And he made it maybe 10 seconds into the video. He was like, I'm not watching this anymore. Fine, you win. We don't have to. And I'm like, no, you need to watch it. He's like, no, I'm done. I don't want to talk about this anymore. So when a baby is born, when a baby boy is born, he has foreskin over the head of his penis. And when they circumcise him, they first have to separate the foreskin from the penis. And the foreskin is actually adhered till they're about 2, 3, 4 years old. And so it doesn't retract initially. And it's adhered to the penis with the same skin that actually adheres your fingernails to your finger. So just imagine having a fingernail all the way around your finger and having someone take pliers basically and sticking it in there and just going around in a circle separating that skin. So that's the first part, and it causes it to bleed because it's not supposed to separate, right? How would your fingernails react if you just put something in there? This is also to mention that a lot of doctors do not use anesthesia or any type of numbing agent. They claim that the child cannot feel any pain. However, the clitoris has 8,000 nerve endings while the foreskin has 20,000. So the foreskin is literally over twice as sensitive as the clitoris. And how many jokes, if you're a male, how many jokes about finding the clitoris, this or that, the foreskin is way more. And it also, futuristically, adds lubrication to the head of the penis so that it makes sex more enjoyable. It makes it more enjoyable for both parties because it's how it works. You look at any animal, they don't get circumcised. You see their red rockets come out and, they're not circumcised. They have the natural lubrication. That's how the body is designed. That's how the male body is designed. Okay, so pliers separated the fingernail adhesive from the penis. So then that's all separated. So then they basically retract the penis in, pull the foreskin out, and clamp it with another set of pliers, right? Kind of they're almost like wire cutter pliers. That's what they look like. So they clamp it so the penis is back here and the foreskin is up here, and they just razor blade the skin off. And then they cauterize the skin so that it doesn't continually bleed, and they just sit there for a minute. And that's how a circumcision happens. And the baby's crying all the while because they don't put the child under anesthesia. There's, 25% of OBs use pain meds. Otherwise, they're just oh no, baby can't feel anything, which is, you watch any circumcision video, it's crazy to say that they wouldn't be able to feel anything. I always feel kind of apprehensive about talking about circumcision because I know plenty of mothers that have had their sons circumcised because they didn't know. They didn't know the pain that the child goes through. They didn't know what the procedure looked like. They just said, oh, well, my husband's circumcised, so the kids will be. Or, well, everyone does it. But the AAP does not recommend it as a routine procedure. It can be done. Only 1 to 3% of babies that are circumcised end up with some kind of infection. They can actually, whatever, I don't know the medical term, turtling, so the penis can actually retract into the body because they've cut too much skin off, too much of the foreskin off. There are several complications that can end up happening because of circumcision. And for the 1% of UTIs that it prevents for boys, it's just not worth it. If your son ends up having recurrent UTIs because of having their foreskin still, they go under anesthesia when they're older to get the circumcision done, and then they're aware of why they're experiencing pain. It makes sense, and it basically is just all around better, because this baby who has been safe in its mother's womb for so long, being circumcised, in the tradition it was 8 days old, right? In the Jewish tradition it's 8 days old, and basically you're just like exposing it to this world and saying like, oh hey, by the way, we don't like this piece of your body, so we're just going to cut it off. And by watching that video, I'm like, if this isn't genital mutilation, I don't know what is. Like, actually physically seeing like that skin separated, it was very disturbing. It was very graphic, but it's the reality of what happens to so many children. 85% of men in America are circumcised. Worldwide, it's 30%, 33%, a third of men worldwide. So America, what do they do with that skin, right? It's sold to pharmaceuticals. Kind of like we as pro-life people are against aborted babies' organs being sold for research. The foreskin is actually sold for research. It is very profitable, and it contributes to the medical wherewithal of making money, right? So, and I know that there are going to be some doctors that are upset with me for talking about what I'm saying. I'm sorry, and I'm sorry for any mothers that feel guilty. All we can do, it's just like how God judges us. If we are totally ignorant, we did not know, like, God has mercy on that. And there is definitely mercy to be had if you didn't know. But if you have another boy, maybe consider having him maybe look a little different than his brothers, and not just have him go through the same turmoil. Because I think one of the things I was reading was a lot of men just want to deny that that's what happened to them. That's the medical aspect of it that I am just totally perplexed against, that it's there's no way that I would have my son, if we ever have a boy, there's no way I would have him circumcised. On the religious side of it, it used to be a sacrifice. It was a sacrificial aspect of the boy's genitalia that aided in our salvation. The Jewish tradition, they sacrificed animals on the altar. They had all types of different blood sacrifices. But when Christ died on the cross, his blood was shed for us. We are cleansed by his blood, and now we receive that cleansing through baptism. We no longer have to have the blood sacrifices, and so circumcision is no longer necessary. Jesus even says in the New Testament, I don't remember the exact scripture because I have a baby, we're moving, I haven't had time to just sit down and read and get specific things, but he says, nor Jew nor Gentile, nor circumcised nor uncircumcised, everything is the same. He says that we must circumcise our hearts and not circumcise the genitalia anymore. And so through Christ's suffering on the cross, we no longer are called to cause our children to suffer, because Christ has redeemed that. Christ has offered the blood sacrifice to the fullest degree that we no longer have to do that. So there can be a medical choice to have a circumcision done. There can be a vanity choice to say, I've had people say, well, I like the way circumcised penises look. And it's good for you. Go cut off your fingernails then and see how that feels, because it is not, I don't know. And there's just so much that goes into it. It is the child's body. It is not ours. We are given discretion for our child. And I had somebody say, how can I call it genital mutilation when Jesus himself was circumcised? Well, I would say, is it still murder on the cross? How could we call it murder if Jesus experienced it? Or how could we call it temptation if it's what Jesus experienced? Jesus decided, he was willing to become God incarnate, the hypostatic union. He was 100% man and 100% God. And so within that, he opted, although he was apart from original sin and never sinned, he opted to become a part of that original sin. So with original sin, there are consequences. And so one of the ones in the Jewish tradition is circumcision. And that's also done by a rabbi. It's done without any numbing agent or anesthesia in a home. there are several aspects of it that are, just, it caused me to shiver a little because I've seen the videos. I've seen what the procedure looks like. I have a friend who's a nurse who, where she did her residency, they didn't use any type of numbing agent. They're like, oh no, the kid can't feel it. And it's like, obviously they can. They're screaming at the top of their lungs, like, stop, but she couldn't do anything. They can't do anything. And it's just, it's bizarre to me. And I do not mean that in a judgmental way. I just mean it in a personal, strong conviction. Hope to help you understand why I feel so strongly about it. And hope to encourage you and give you the tools and information, offer the aspect of one of my strengths, my input strength of gathering information, to offer that to say, I have heard all of this information, so much information about circumcision, and I'm narrowing it down to these few major points that I think are huge aspects. Adhesive is under the finger. It's the same adhesion that keeps your fingernails on your nails, that keeps the foreskin on the penis that they have to separate as a baby. Foreskin has 20,000 nerve endings and the clitoris has 8,000, literally under half the amount of nerve endings. So it is taking so much away from that child, and the fact that an uncircumcised man is like, that's how sex is just more pleasurable for both partners. So those are just like 3 aspects. And Jesus avoided it. We don't have to do it anymore. And the medical community is profiting off of the foreskin sales. So it's definitely just all around something that I believe should absolutely be avoided at all costs. I mean, obviously, kid is getting recurrent UTIs and having some issues, like, then they can get circumcised when they're a little bit older. But just to do it as a routine procedure is not recommended by the AAP, isn't recommended by the Catholic Church, and isn't recommended by me. So, for whatever that's worth. But God bless you. Graphic topic today, I know. Not always about this kind of stuff, but it was definitely on my heart to do the video this week. It's on Twitter. I retweeted it. So my handle is @mycatholicbrain if you're interested in watching the video for yourself if they haven't taken it down yet. So, but otherwise, God bless you, and I hope that you have a wonderful week. I pray that God grants you the resources that you need to draw closer to Him and to those around you. I hope you're able to make it a great day, and I'll see you next Thursday. God bless.